not winning this war. Iran is not winning this war.
Heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
Democrats lost leverage. They're at their weakest point in decades. Israel's neutralized their proxies, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Assad in Syria. The Iranians don't have much of a navy. Their air force is ancient, and their army's sitting ducks if they cross the border on foot into Iraq. They can't project power. The only thing keeping the Ayatollah alive is his nuclear program, and he's clinging on to it so that he doesn't get Gaddafi'd. You remember Gaddafi gave up his nuclear program, and then Barack, Hillary, and the Europeans killed him anyway. Trump says it's very simple.
If you want to make
no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
America can't let Iran acquire a nuclear weapon, or any other country. Americans can't get blackmailed by rogue states. And stopping the spread of nuclear weapons has been American policy since Oppenheimer made one. Trump originally put Netanyahu on ice and told him not to strike. But NBC reports Trump had a change of heart after the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran was cheating. 47 didn't want to be the president on whose watch it was able to obtain a nuclear weapon. So the Pentagon started to quietly move resources to the region, deploying reconnaissance aircraft to conduct surveillance and provide intelligence to Israel. Moved anti-drone and anti-missile systems from Ukraine to the Middle East. A carrier strike group from the Pacific to the Eastern Mediterranean, and they're assisting Israel with refueling flights. We're helping Israel intercept Iranian strikes and defending American soldiers and assets in the region.
So you were closely coordinating with the U.S. throughout this process?
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump, will make the decisions that are best for America. And that's the way it is. He understands that I, as the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
Israel has its own agenda. They're looking out for their own interests. And sometimes those interests align with ours, and sometimes they don't. Israel isn't interested in talks with Iran. Netanyahu called the nuclear negotiations between Tehran and Washington fake. Trump disagrees. He'd rather negotiate a settlement than settle it with airstrikes. Israel wants regime change. Reports say Trump told Netanyahu no when they asked to assassinate Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei. Officials say, have the Iranians killed an American yet? No. Until they do, we're not even talking about going after the political leadership. Bibi says Iran tried to kill Trump.
These people who chant death to America, try to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not. Yeah. So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him.
Whoa.
I got these.
We know Iran tried to kill Trump, but we never knew Ruth and Crooks were Iranian proxies. Either Netanyahu just shared intelligence that hasn't been shared with the American people, or he's spinning. Remember, there's always propaganda when missiles are flying. And as critical as it is to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon, we've seen the risks of regime change. What comes next is the question. It's a theocracy. You can take out the Ayatollah, but there's still 30,000 radical clerics. You can't kill them all. So who takes over after a decapitation strike? Someone even more dangerous? Does the country disintegrate into militia infighting? Do insurgents take over the oil sector? Do jihadists pour in from all over the world and force Iranian refugees to pour out? And then who takes them? Israel doesn't have to manage that chaos. That'll fall to the United States. We've overthrown Iranian leaders before. We installed the Shah, and he was a great ally against the Soviets and kept the oil flowing. But he was so unpopular, there was a revolution, and these fundamentalists took over. Their paramilitary groups laid siege to the region, and they started enriching uranium. It's who we're dealing with now. You never really know what happens after you topple a leader. You'd rather have ships sailing from Europe to the Indian Ocean without any trouble. So far, oil prices haven't spiked too much. Oil in the 60s, it's what's kept inflation at bay this year. Let's keep it that way. There's two key things to look for to tell you how this conflict's going to play out. If the Israelis start targeting Iranian oil refineries, that could tell you regime change could be next, because a domestic energy crisis will turn the streets against Iranian leadership. And also look for whether bunker busters will be used. Israel has them, but they don't go as deep as the American ones. And if the U.S. delivers them to Israel or uses them ourselves, that'll cripple the only card Iranians have left, and could lead to the Iranians lashing out wildly in a last-ditch effort to preserve their power. Or it could force them to sign a settlement where they swear off enrichment. Or the settlement opens up their country for inspections so invasive that it makes it almost impossible for the regime to retain legitimacy and hurts their ability to control their own population, which is their main goal. A dilution, or anything could happen. This is a fast-moving story. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. This country elected President Trump because they trust him as commander-in-chief more than they trusted Joe Biden, and much more than they would have trusted Kamala Harris. One of the reasons he won the Republican primary in 2016 was because he called the Iraq war dumb. But Trump has also shown his willingness to take strong and decisive action to eliminate foreign threats.